Shreya! Shreya! This is my 23rd trip. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize there was a video accompanying me. Clearly I'm not quite as good looking in real life, but there you go. You can't have everything. This is my 23rd trip to your beautiful land, and I would just like to say, don't ever take it for granted, because coming from London, I know where I would rather live, and it would probably be here. I'm very grateful to be here. Thanks to Phil, Ash, and Luke and the team for inviting me over. So yes, I'm going to talk about the retail revolution. My passion is customer centricity, and I know you'll be surprised to know that I've walked that talk for 40 years, because you're all looking at me, and you're thinking, how the heck can that be when you only look 28? These are my father's, two of my father's 4 or 5 retail optical practices in Glasgow and Scotland, and I started my career on the shop floor of my dad's retail opticians business, doing marketing and customer experience back in the day when there was no such thing as a computer, and we were using Rolodecks basically to call customers up and tell them they should be coming in for an appointment. And my dad was brilliant at selling to customers, and for any of you that know Paisley and the outskirts of Glasgow, it's not the most salubrious place in the world. You've never seen so many people walking about with 2 pairs of glasses and a pair of sunglasses, because my dad was really good at selling to people when they came in to get their eyes tested. I got involved with digital way back in '97, so I was quite an early adopter, really. And this was my flashy Mercedes, W66 for web, WWW for World Wide Web. And that's my daughter Antonia, who was 2 years old at the time. She's now 25. Got a wee bit ahead of myself. I had a web development business that crashed and burned. I think in Australia you call that tall poppy syndrome. So maybe I was a bit of a tall poppy back then. Subsequently, I went on to have the privilege of working for these great brands. I ran online and multi-channel for the likes of Harrods, for Burberry, for Ted Baker, for Pentland Brands. And I set up a little business that some of you might have heard of over here called Practicology, which is what kind of brought me to Australia in 2010. And we opened an office in Sydney and Melbourne. And we had the privilege of selling that business to Pattern, an American company, just a few years ago. Today, I do lots of different things, some of which involves actually being a board advisor. So I sit on a number of boards in an advisory capacity, a non-executive capacity. And I was in Glasgow recently presenting to my beloved Glasgow Celtic Football Club, so there's a bit of a giveaway. Sorry to any Rangers fans in the audience, we're about to win the league again, just thought I'd get that out there. Anyway, when I was presenting, I was telling the people in the room that I'm a NED, right, which is the acronym for non-exec director, and I realised I'd been out of Glasgow for too long, because in Glasgow, that's what a NED looks like. I don't know if you call that a bogan, I'm not sure. As you can tell, I talk the talk. I've been presenting about customer centricity for a very long time. This is the oldest slide that I've got to just prove the case. 2014 at the London Business School, I was privileged to be asked to do a keynote to talk about it. And I've gone on to write a couple of books, some that have done pretty well. In fact, they've both done pretty well, actually. Some, there's only 2 of them. Both about customer experience and customer centricity. And if you ever have the misfortune of being in the UK, you'll see my ugly mug occasionally popping up on the BBC, Sky, and other well-known broadcast media outlets. I created something called the Mini MBA in Customer Centricity, which I run with a college in Oxford. Maybe some of you might be interested in that after this. And for those of you that didn't go yesterday, some of you did. Sadly, you missed out on a great day where I did a workshop for the whole day on an MBA in a day. So I tried to basically take 3.5 months worth of content and consolidate it into one session. Now, I think if you really want to understand the future of retail, which is the same with lots of things in life, I think you have to look back the way to begin with. So I want to take you back to the past for a minute, because this fundamentally changes what we need to be doing now and in the future when it comes to really engaging with consumers. Consumers used to have limited choice. It always used to be about location, location, location. You have to say, nice bit of product placement from Domino's opening up next to Weight Watchers, or maybe it was Weight Watchers opening up next to Domino's. I don't really know. But one of them got it right. Maybe they both got it right. But it was all, we had limited choice, didn't we? We had high streets, we had shopping centres, we had retail parks, and we had the odd catalogue. And then along came the great man, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, and he invented the WWW, the World Wide Web, in 1989. Then, that began in 1994 with the first transaction, the democratisation of retail, because it started the shift in the balance of power. Now, if you believe Pizza Hut, these are the first products. The first product actually that was bought online in 1994. I've also heard other people claim it was a Sting CD. Some of you probably don't know what that is, but if you Google it, you'll find out what a CD is. And that began the game-changing proliferation of choice, because what it did is it put the power in our hands. It took the power away from the retailer, and it gave it to all of us as consumers. Now, I know some of you are retailers, but this is the point, right? So the power has shifted, and that's because we can buy anything, we can buy it any time, we can buy it any place, and we can buy it from anyone. Because if I walk into one of your stores and I have a bad experience, I've got 10,000 options at the click of a mouse that I can get onto in a matter of seconds, can't I? And now I can get delivery in 15 minutes of some stuff, which is just crazy. Now, you may or may not know this, but a third of us, on average, all the research you'll ever read, a third of us will ditch a brand based on one poor customer experience. Now, that poor customer experience doesn't mean that you've necessarily been treated badly, or you've called the contact center and somebody hasn't given you the answer that you want. It might just be you aren't offering the right delivery options. But a third of consumers will basically, that's it, they'll walk out the door and they won't come back. And I think that disruptive brands really understand that. I think they understand what that means, because it's actually about how do we empower customers? How do we empower consumers to have the experience that they want to have, not the one that we have foisted upon them? Because many of you will be sitting there right now frustrated by the legacy technology that exists in your business, by the systems, the processes, or the decisions that have been made that you know instinctively are not really to the betterment or to the benefit of the customer, and could actually be detracting from your opportunity. So these are businesses like the neo-banks, the online banks like Monzo, Starling, Revolut, Amazon obviously within retail, Uber, Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Rockar. Rockar is a brand that helps the car manufacturers go direct to consumer. They provide the technology that allows Hyundai, Ford, Jaguar, Land Rover now to take their products, to democratize their sector, to cut out the middleman, and take their brand into places where you are as consumers. Now, a quick anecdote with Uber, because it's always the easiest one to describe. 7 years ago, how would you order a taxi? You might use your phone, you go online, you get a number, you call up, you'd say, I've got a hot date, I've got an interview, I've got a really important business meeting, I need to be there in 10 minutes. They'd say, sure, wait, driver will be there in 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, or whatever. Of course, you wouldn't believe that, right? And they wouldn't turn up in 10 minutes, they'd turn up in 20 minutes, or half an hour. You're already stressed, you don't know how long it's going to take you to get where you're going, you don't know how much it's going to cost, and you don't know what route they're going to go, or anything. And Uber went, you know what, there's a problem with that, and we can build an app, we can build technology to change that and turn it on its head, and give the power back to the customer, so that now you see when the car's coming, you know how long it's going to take to pick you up, you know how long it's going to take to get where you're going, and you know how much it's going to cost. These brands don't put the technology first. They're solving problems. They've understood how to use technology to empower us as customers. So what the heck is the future of retail? That's the question I'm asking myself all the time. Now, some of you have heard this secret already. Who would like to hear a secret? Anybody? It's too late in the day for a secret, or you still like to hear a secret? Yeah. Excellent, is the right answer. I'm really sorry, right? I know some of you will be in floods of tears right now, but your brand is not the most important thing in your customer's life. This is. All right. Right? Their convenience is more important. And the reason why I want to point that out is because I don't think the future of retail is the metaverse. Do I think the metaverse is going to be hugely exciting and something that you should be looking at? Absolutely. And I'll give you a view in a few slides' time of what I think you should be doing. But the future of retail is about how do you move from what you do at the moment, and I guarantee almost all of you focus on the top of the funnel. You focus on return on advertising spend, because the CFO loves that. Right? The CFO loves that because you can measure it all. I spend $8 and I get $80 back. Fantastic. I'm in control. That's not the future of retail. The future of retail is how do you actually move from that to customer lifetime value. That's the only thing I really think you should be focusing on right now. So how do you build customer lifetime value? Start with your biggest asset. Who knows what your biggest asset is? Customer? Yeah. Good answer, but not the right one. Your biggest asset is your people. It's all of you, right? Wherever you work within the organization. And you need to start by creating a culture of nurturing and empowerment. We heard A number of speakers talking about culture earlier and how important that is. Start by never, never, ever putting profit before people. Never do that, please. Argos is just one example of many brands, some of them using the pandemic as an excuse to rip up employees' contracts and rehire them on poorer commercial terms, right? Don't train people, don't develop them, don't give them succession planning, but yet expect them to come in and do cartwheels and just be the best for customers and be the best at what they can be. Why would they? This is how most people feel, and I have to say the UK is probably just about the worst market, one of the worst markets in the world at the moment. Only 15% of employees are engaged in our workplaces, according to Gallup. Most of them are just surviving. That's all they're doing. They really don't feel pretty happy about where they're doing. They're just trying to make it through the day. And one thing I think the retailers can do to improve how people feel, particularly those who are working on the front line, is get rid of the head office. Right? If you've got a central location somewhere called a head office, please rebrand it. I'm not suggesting you fire everybody, you just rebrand it, call it something else. My friend Mike Logue ran a business called Dreams until very recently, and the first thing he did is he changed it from headquarters to bedquarters. Now you might think that that's a smart kind of marketing play, but what he was doing is he was actually saying to the people in the front line of his business, you're on the same level as me. You're on the same level as everyone else that sits in this office and makes decisions. We don't have a hierarchy. He was basically sort of democratizing the business, if you like. The employee experience is just as important as customer experience. Hyatt, which is a hotel group that didn't always look after its people, I don't think, quite as well, does a lot better these days. Housekeepers, for example, they can leave when they've done their job. They can leave early. If their quota is you need to clean and make good 10 bedrooms a day, they can leave after that, or they can earn more money if they want to stay on and clean more rooms. Staff are offered a minimum of 8 weeks paid leave if they're a primary caregiver. So this is, again, you're starting to get the feeling that this is a brand that has a good culture and now does care about its people. Patagonia, which is a brand I'm sure many of you know, they offer on-site childcare. And this one is going to get probably most of you now probably applying for a job at Patagonia, because employees must surf when the waves are good and even during work hours. You're never getting me in the water on a surfboard, certainly not around your shores, but anyway. Home Depot, the biggest, most successful DIY retailer in the States, they trust their staff with the autonomy to give discounts of $50. $50. Now, why do they do that? I'll tell you why they do that. Because they have pretty high average order values, and they don't want customers walking out of there and going somewhere else. Can I imagine anyone in the UK trusting their staff to give discounts of like 30, 40, 50 quid? No chance. Now, I do a lot of mystery shopping, and I went around all the DIY retailers, the big names in the UK, the B&Qs, the Home Bases, the Screwfixes, and I went into 3 of each of their branches in the south of London trying to buy what I was calling a newfangled video door camera thing, right? I was acting a bit dumb, maybe that comes naturally, but I was going in asking for this. Do you think a single person tried to sell me a single thing? Nah. Yeah, it's down there, aisle 16. And I'd go down to aisle 16, and it was the worst piece of visual merchandising I'd ever seen. No one tried to sell me a thing. That's what that is all about. As my pal Richard would say, put your staff first, your customer second, and your shareholders third. Because if you do it in that order, your shareholders will make a lot more money. The problem is, too many of our businesses today don't do that. They put the shareholders first, right? Because the shareholders say you need to make X in the next 12 months, which is often to the detriment of the long-term viability and success of the business. The second thing I think you need to do is basically, I don't care what you sell. I really don't care what you sell. I promise you, there isn't a single business in here that cannot start the journey of turning a customer into a fan. I don't care if you sell nuts and bolts or washers. You can turn a customer into a fan. You have a brand here called Appliances Online. In the UK, they were called Appliances Online. They're now called AO.com. Have a look at that. They have 1.8 million people liking them on Facebook. They have massive levels of engagement, 460 comments on a daft post about emojis. They've got an incredible level of engagement. And they sell washing machines, fridge freezers, tumble dryers, and the likes. Have a look at this video and you'll get a sense of why they're so popular.
B to the E to the K to the O, B go, you know that the place to go. I said B to the E to the K to the O, B go, you know that the place to go. If you want a long wash, get Bico. If you want a quick wash, get Bico. If you want a rinse, get Bico. If you want an extra rinse, get Bico. Yeah, I got myself a brand new washing machine. My whites are whiter than white, my pants are cleaner than clean. A 5-kilogram drum and a spin of 1,000 socks, tops, dressy jeans, and still got room for my trousers. If you want a long wash, get Bico. If you want a quick wash, get Bico. If you want a rinse, get Bico. If you want an extra rinse, get Bico. For a washing machine, you know it's pretty slim, easy peasy to maneuver, lemon squeezy to plug in, very simple to use, man, it won't tax your brain, and has an energy efficiency rating of A. Oh, A, oh, A, Bico, A, oh, A. B to the E to the K to the O, Bico, you know that the place to go. I said B to the E to the K to the O, Bico, you know that the place to go.
Boom. How about that? Now, they told me, and you'll take this with a pinch, it's a good video, isn't it? I always want to dance to it whenever I hear it, but my dancing's not that great. Anyway, they told me that is actually a customer video for a competition, right? Believe it or not. Clearly it's somebody who works in, I think, in the creative industries to be able to produce something like that. But it gives you an idea of the personality of the brand and why they've been able to get the type of traction they've got. Now, unfortunately, most of you, 99% of retailers, don't have fans. And you don't have fans because it's a transactional relationship that you have with customers at the moment. So I hope what you're going to get from today is the things that I think you can do that starts to move the needle and starts to genuinely turn somebody from being a customer into a fan. And I think the reason why we struggle is that we look at customers as a cost center. I find that astonishing. I talk to boards of directors and I say, what's keeping you up at night? And guaranteed, always one of 2 or 3 things is, the cost to serve customers. You know, click and collect, pick up in store, mobile, you know, they want this, they want that, they want the next thing. No shit, Sherlock, they do. That's the experience that we all want. And if we don't offer it, they're going to go somewhere else. It's quite simple. It's black and white. Now, when we think of customers as a cost center, we make the wrong decisions. We start to make these decisions. Oh, you know what? We get too many people working in our stores, don't we? Just take a few people out there. Well, guess what happens? Customers leave empty-handed. I was doing some mystery shopping in Newcastle not that long ago, and I went into a Next store. And Next are the bellwethers of the high street in the UK. 3 floors. It must have been 15,000 square feet. 20 minutes in the store, and I didn't find a single member of staff. And I thought to myself, how many people like me have actually walked out because they couldn't get the advice that they needed at that moment in time? Or we don't offer enough delivery options because it's treated as a cost center. Or actually, we might make some money out of delivery. Why don't we charge for delivery? Or why don't we charge more than other people charge? That's a great idea, isn't it? No. Or why don't we charge for returns? You know, if we charge for returns, do we really expect people to buy online in the first place? Question mark. Not sure that they would. Or they might buy from somebody else who doesn't charge for returns. Or they'll just go into the store and buy it. No, omni-channel experience. Not a joined-up, seamless experience. I want to be able to start my journey in one channel and finish it in another. And so do you, don't you? You want to research online? Buy in store. Research in store? Buy online. Have a great mobile experience, you know? And you want to be recognized at each stage of that journey. Customer service, my biggest bugbear. For anyone that's phoned customer service or had to get in touch with a customer service team, you will know 9 times out of 10, you're just made to feel as if you're really not wanted, right? It's like this, just go away. Annoying customer, you know. I'm not really here, I'm just here to answer the phone. I'm not really here to help you resolve the issue. So guess what happens? Customers go straight onto social media and they rant and they rave. They don't rave, they rant, sorry. They amplify the issue. Why would any brand be happy with that? When would any business be happy with thousands of customers going onto social media channels and telling other potential customers how rubbish they are? Don't get it. Now, I'm OCD about my trousers. Some of you know that. These are another pair. I was wearing navy ones yesterday. These are black, right? Just to prove a point. So, little zip down the side there. So when you're traveling, particularly if you're Scottish, you can put your cash and your cards in there, right? Which is very handy when you're a Scotsman, okay? Anyway, just a wee joke there. Self-deprecation and all that. So I was sitting at home and I was buying 3 pairs of Boss trousers, the same Boss trousers, because that's what I do, because I like them. And I placed an order and I used Apple Pay, whatever my phone is over there. I used Apple Pay and Apple Pay said it's gone through. And the website immediately said, it hasn't gone through. I'm panicking. I'm like, they've taken 350 quid off me. I'm not going to get my trousers. Disaster. So I go online, I find all the customer service touch points. They do WhatsApp. Brilliant. I WhatsApp them. I email them. I call them. It's a Friday night, by the way, right? But you know, the service level suggested they would get back to me fairly quickly. I heard from them 5 days later. So problem number 1 is I waited 5 days. Problem number 2 is that's the email I got. Dear Mr. Newman, thank you for your email. I've since checked and the order you've mentioned hasn't gone through. Therefore, no payment's been taken from our side. If the money's still pending in your account, I recommend you contact Apple Pay customer services. So problem number 2, actually, they're like, you know, it's not our problem, mate. You can go and sort it out. Problem number 3, if that was my business, I would be so pissed off. I'd have thought that Mr. Newman wanted to buy 3 pairs of trousers. And nobody made an effort in customer service to go, oh, sorry you had a problem. I can place the order for you. No attempt whatsoever. No attempt. So not only did they lose a customer through poor customer service, they lost a £350 order because I will not go back and buy anything from them. I'll still buy my Boss trousers, but I'll buy them somewhere else. So maybe they will still get the money through the back door in some sense. I think if you want to be truly customer-centric, and I think if you want to think about the future of retail, we need to move from the typical return on investment model to return on involvement. That's a much better ROI. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to involve customers. I'm going to talk to them more often. I'm going to try and build a relationship. We've been talking about CRM for 20 years, 25 years, personalization. How many of you genuinely get any real form of personalized communications when you buy from a brand, whether that's in-store or online? It just doesn't happen. It's rubbish. Anybody ever been to Hilton Doubletree Hotel? Yep, one or two hands up, thank you. So you may have, I don't know whether you experienced this or not, but every time you go to Hilton Doubletree, you go in, you get to the check-in, the reception, before you even get your passport out or your photo ID or your credit card, none of this, you know, give us your money for incidentals, by the way, right, which is the first thing you normally get in a hotel, along with your photo ID. They give you this brown paper bag, and I was like, what's this all about? And you open it up, and it's warm as well, which makes it even more suspicious. Anyway, the waft coming out, thankfully, is the waft of a home-baked cookie. And they've got a warming drawer. They've got warming drawers in the reception. And that's what they do, and that's their way of saying, you can feel at home here. We might be a hotel, but we want to make you feel at home. This is not just a normal hotel. And it's just brilliant. Now, according to CDLP, which is a Scandinavian underwear brand, I may or may not be wearing some of their underwear right now, too much information. They are the best underwear brand in the world, so they say. I have no complaints. I made my first order, and I got this little card through. And it's really simple. You don't need big tech solutions, right, or big CRM solutions to deliver that. You just need pre-printed cards with the name left blank so that the person who's picking and packing the order can personalize it and write my name in. Imagine how many people actually go and make another order, another purchase. I did. Quite a lot. Simple little thing with the customer's order. Then, as a further way of building the relationship with me, I got this. Dear Martin, we are committed to innovation and always improving our products. We'd love to hear about your recent experience with our designs. If you care to fill out this survey, we'll give you a 15% voucher to use on your next purchase. It's only going to take 2 minutes. Thanks for your contribution. That's nice. It's nicely worded. It's a nice offer. It's rewarding me for giving them something. They're giving me something back. In the early stages of the pandemic, I bought a few pairs of Levi jeans online, a couple of pairs of Levi jeans online, and I got this. It wasn't promoted. They didn't say buy jeans and get a face mask. It was a random act of kindness. Random acts of kindness are brilliant little micro moments of the customer journey where you can really start that journey of turning somebody from being a customer into a fan. It was a lovely touch. The next thing I think you need to do is you need to think of yourselves as service providers. Selling stuff. If all you ever do is transact, if that's what your business is about, we sell stuff. You're not going to build relationships. You're not going to start that journey of turning somebody from being a customer into a fan. You're only ever going to have customers. You're not going to have fans. And the customers are going to churn a lot quicker. Now, Richer Sounds is one of the most customer-centric businesses in the UK today. Have a look just below the just below the top navigation. 6-year guarantees, that's pretty good. Lowest price guaranteed, tick in the box. Expert advice, great. Free delivery to most of the UK, and pick a day delivery, right? So it's a very service-orientated business. And by the way, we're here for you 7 days a week. None of this Hugo Boss nonsense that we pretend that we're there for you and we're actually not. We're there 7 days a week. You know, we deliver on our promises. I was in the Queen Victoria building in Sydney for the umpteenth time. I spent quite a lot of time there because it never stopped raining from the time I landed on Thursday morning until the time I flew up here on Sunday. Schoolboy error, I should have come straight to the Gold Coast or gone to Melbourne. I love Sydney, but the weather was really atrocious. Anyway, there's this little shop called the Phone King, and they've got this big repairs thing in the window, and there's a couple of people in there repairing products. I just thought that was brilliant. That's what I think of when I think about experiential retail and getting across the fact that this is a business that's there to help and support. It's a service-orientated mindset. The next is about ensuring you turn up where your customers want you to be. Now, you might think of this as channel strategy. That's boring, that sits on a deck somewhere. But ultimately, what does it mean? It means turning up where your customers want you to be. And that can include all of that. It can include in your store, on an app, leverage bottom left-hand corner, leveraging your colleagues in the store environment, live casting, live chatting to customers on the website, helping to sell products. Still possibly taking sales on the bottom right-hand corner through the contact center, click and collect orders, the endless aisle, you name it. Now, Mark talked earlier about Amazon and Amazon Go, and he's right. They've closed the bookstores. They've closed the 4-star stores. They weren't great stores, to tell you the honest truth. They actually were not good experiences. This is a much better experience because from a customer empowerment point of view, what can be better than going into a store, picking something up, walking out, not having to get your credit card, your debit card, your purse, your wallet, your buy now, pay later, out your pocket, and just go. And they've worked out how to do that with technology. Now, as I said, I'm from Glasgow. To be honest, we've just been picking up and walking out for years. Now, on the left-hand side is Genesis, new electric car brand in Pitt Street in Paisley. Freudian slip. Pitt Street in Sydney even, although the weather was like Paisley in Scotland. Tesla on the right-hand side. I remember when Tesla opened up in my nearest shopping centre in North London, and I thought, what's this all about? What's this all about? What's a car dealer doing opening up in a shopping centre? This is just a marketing ploy. And then it dawned on me when I sort of, paused for a minute and reflected that what they were doing is they were democratizing the experience of buying a car. They were taking the car to us, to you, and not saying to you, you need to get in a car or a taxi or get somebody to give you a lift and schlep out of town to a big shed somewhere, right? And they've got a different mentality and a different mindset when it comes to how they treat people. There's no real sales push. It's more about helping people find the right solution. I'm going to show you a video now which I think is just about the ultimate. When you're thinking about turning up where your customers are, I think you find it hard to do a better job of this brand.
The Traffic Jam Whopper. We used real-time data to detect our potential buyers in a traffic jam to offer them a Whopper and deliver on the move.
Fernanda, buenos días. Señor Eduardo, buenas tardes.
¡Ay, qué bello!
Llegaste en chinga, cabrón. Me cagaba de hambre.
Our media was 100% dynamic, promoting our service only in high congestion zones. By leveraging traffic and drivers' real-time data, we adjusted our billboards' location and content. The messages displayed information about the remaining time in traffic to order and personalized updates about deliveries in progress. Also, Waze banner ads and push notifications invited drivers to get a Whopper as soon as they entered our delivery zones. People were able to use voice commands to place the order and avoid tickets. Finally, using the latest Google Maps APIs, our app pinpointed vehicle location and speed in order to deliver for the first time ever to a driver on the move. The delivery zones changed, following the traffic live, making our service available when a gridlock was identified, always within a 3-kilometer radius from the restaurants.
Hola Mariana, ¿cómo estás?
Ay, te agarraría besos.
Lo siento, estoy en servicio.
In just 1 week, we increased delivery orders by 63%, and our daily app download rate increased 44 times, becoming the #1 fast food app, surpassing McDonald's, Domino's, and Starbucks in Mexico. Coming soon, Los Angeles, San Paulo, and Shanghai. The Traffic Jam Whopper.
Enjoy the traffic.
That's pretty good, isn't it? That's as good as it gets when it comes to channel turning up where customers are. You probably didn't spot this, but I think that lady, when she said, you know, that he deserved a kiss, she actually slipped her number to him at that moment in time. Web 3.0, whatever you want to call it, the metaverse. I think in my mind, it is a parallel experience to the real world. I've been giving a lot of thought to what is it actually all about, you know, what's really happening. It's interesting, actually, because I did a podcast with a friend of mine who's a well-known digital director, and somebody else, because it was about the metaverse, and I made a comment in a tweet, and he said, the metaverse, it just exists in conferences, doesn't it? Which is not true. I get his point, but it's not true. The metaverse is another channel. That's what I think it is. It's another route to market. Is anybody making any money from it? Yes, they are. So Nike did a collaboration with Ferocious, presumably I've pronounced that correctly, and they sold 600 pairs, physical pairs and digital pairs, NFTs, within 6 minutes. I don't know what the running total is now. Over $3 million, right? So there is money to be made. But of course, what you need to reflect on is who's in there and who's actually spending time there. Decentraland is one of the big platforms on there. And they had a fashion show running in March. I actually noticed way back in November that the, no, it wasn't Barbados. Was it Barbados? I think it was Barbados, actually. Barbados was the first government to actually set up on Decentraland, which was really quite amusing. Anyway, have a look at this. This is the adoption curve. And why I think this is important is I think it brings a bit of reality to what's likely to happen with the metaverse. Now, Gartner predicts that 25% of customers will use the metaverse by 2026. Right? It's 2022, and there's still a bit to go in 2022. So the numbers along the bottom are my estimations. This is my guess. So where we are at the moment is the metaverse is mainly populated by technology enthusiasts, true innovators. People always get in first. All the people you know that made a fortune on cryptocurrency, they're in there. Probably still making another fortune now. So I'm a bit late to the game on that one. I'm probably in the early adopter camp. I've not done much in there. I've gone in and had a wee look around to get a sense of what's going on. So I think next is the early adopters like me, and I think we'll really start to engage over the next couple of years. Then you've got the early majority, then you've got the late majority, and then the laggards, well, they'll probably never know what the metaverse is. Now, if I compare that to the WWW, interestingly, the dot-bomb, which was 2000, 2001, when it crashed first time round, and early adopters like Meyer and David Jones and others thought, we've invested money, it's not going to work. People kept telling me, no one's going to buy footwear clothing online. Why would they? They want to see it, touch it, feel it. I said, yes, and they've been doing that through catalogs for years. Why wouldn't they do it through the internet? Anyway, there you go. So thankfully I was proven right. But at that point in the UK, actually, there was only 25% of households that had internet penetration. So I thought it was an interesting comparison to show, I'm not suggesting that the metaverse is going to crash and burn. I definitely think it is going to be a significant channel in the future. But you need to reflect on whether it's relevant for your brand and the customers that you're selling to, and when it might be relevant. The next thing I want to talk about is engendering trust. Trust is the thing that we're all looking for, isn't it? You know, why do we choose? Australia Post, we're talking about click and collect. Why do we choose to click and collect in reality? It's mainly about empowerment, right? But it's a bit about trust as well. Because when you're buying from a brand online and you look at the delivery proposition, you're always thinking, what happens if I'm not in? What happens if I don't like it? What happens if I need to exchange it? You know, and you start to get a wee bit stressed, just a wee bit, you know, about the prospect of having to go through the palaver of returning something when you can just walk into a store and pick up what it was that you'd chosen to click and collect. And a brand that I think does a really good job of this is Bowden, that you might know in the apparel space. They started as a catalogue business, very successful. Now, a number of businesses have this kind of free returns for a year, but they go a step further. They say 365-day quality guarantee. Ooh. No longer, not just good enough to say you can return it, but actually, if anything goes wrong with the product, we'll take it back. That's amazing, by the way. But you know what? In reality, we all know when somebody's going to return something, we kind of do it straight away, don't we? We don't sit on it. We want our money back, right? So in reality, they know. If I took that to any of the brands I worked with previously, said that to the CFOs of the time, they would have probably sacked me on the spot and said, are you stupid? You want to give 365-day free returns? It'll kill the business. Of course it won't kill the business, because most people are going to send it back within a week or two. But what it's doing is it's giving you peace of mind as a customer. I really believe that brands need to always, always, always put purpose before profit. If you lead with profit before people, you become less profitable. If you lead with profit before purpose, you become less profitable. If you start with purpose, you become a more profitable business. And there probably is no better example I can think of anywhere than Patagonia. You may or may not know this. Black Friday last year, they took $10 million US on the day. They gave every single cent to a Save the Planet initiative. Every single cent. When Trump came into power in 2016, to sweeten the businesses, he promised them some kind of tax rebate, which he instigated. They got a similar amount of money. They felt so uncomfortable with it, they gave it to charity because they didn't like the politics. But this is a cause-related, purpose-related organization. According to Kantar Research, purpose-led brands see 175% increase in their brand value over 12 years compared to brands who aren't so purpose-led. You might still see a 50, 60% increase in brand value, but purpose-led brands outperform all the time. The next is about diversity and inclusion. I know you've heard a fair bit about that already, and you'll hear a lot more about that over the next few days. Now, I have 3 women in my house, 4 if you include my dog. I've got my wife Laura, my daughters Antonia and Saskia, and my dog Lulu. And even Lulu makes the decisions, certainly ahead of me anyway. So given that 70 or 80% of all consumer purchasing decisions are made by women, why do our boards of directors still look like this? Pale, male, definitely not stale. They are. I'm not. Now, did you know, I bet you'll be surprised at this next stat, there are over 4 million consumers, customers, human beings in Australia who have some form of disability. You probably didn't know that. You'd probably be a wee bit shocked to hear that number. That's like 18% or thereabouts of the population of this lovely country of yours. That's incredible. Not all of those are overt disabilities. Some of them are hidden. Now, these 2 rather body-looking women are my daughters. Saskia on the left, Antonia on the right. They've both got hidden disabilities. I'm not going to go into the detail of it, but I can tell you from first-hand experience that retailers, almost to a retailer, do a really poor job of looking after the needs of disabled consumers. And if I take those 4 million disabled consumers and work out as a percentage of your retail market in Australia, it's a $60 billion opportunity, right? So when I talk about these things, not only is being diverse and inclusive morally the right thing to do, it's absolute commercial suicide to not actually go after it. So what could you do as a business to prove that you understand their needs and that you're catering for them and you really want to engage with them? Because you'd find a very willing audience. The next is about not underestimating the move towards conscious consumption. Now, I know because I do a lot of consumer research, there is a gap between what customers say and what they do. So everyone talks about conscious consumption, and then you kind of look at them, just go into boohoo.com and buy a few fast fashion items. Anybody looking? No. You know, don't feel too bad about my carbon footprint there. But that's changing, and it is changing, and you've already heard some stats about how it's changing, about how people feel. But it's our jobs as brands and retailers and service providers to empower customers to be able to shop more consciously. But what you will find over the next few years is you'll increasingly go into a retail business, and you'll still be able to buy new products, but you'll also be able to buy second-hand, or pre-loved, as we call it, in the luxury space, upcycled, or even renting products. M&S, just before Christmas in the UK, You could rent a party dress for Christmas party for a £299 dress that would cost you to buy, you could rent for a Christmas party. And that's their move towards demonstrating to their customers they understand what's important to them and showing how relevant they are. Now, you probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is the buyerarchy of needs, right? Some smart person created this. It's in my book, but I borrowed it off somebody with their permission. Will we ever get to this? Yeah, I actually think we probably will. It's a bit like the Metaverse. Are we going to get to this, in the next year or two? Probably not. But, we probably will get to a point where, rather than buying something, we're going to think about, maybe we should just use what we've got. Maybe we should borrow it. Maybe we should swap. Maybe we should thrift. Maybe we can try making it. And maybe buying becomes actually the last thing we think about. So I think that's important because you need to obviously think about that. And I can't tell you exactly what the timeline behind that is. But my instinct tells me that's the way we're heading. And therefore, you'll have to adjust how you sell, what you sell in the future accordingly. The next is about thinking big, but acting local. I just saw this before I jumped on the plane last week. So IKEA are shuttering one of their big boxes, their big stores on the edge of London and Tottenham. They're closing that as part of their London transformation plan. And instead, they're focusing on taking their brand to the customer, bringing IKEA closer to where customers live, shop, and socialize. By 2030, according to research in the UK, 70% of populations will live back in the city centre. They won't be living in the suburbs. So we all moved out of the city centres, out to the suburbs, and now we're kind of going back. And bear in mind, we've got a massive increase in single-dwelling population as well, who are moving into those areas because they prefer to be where the action is. The next is about delivering seamless experiences. I would love to know if there's anyone in here. I'm not going to ask you to stand up, but I really would love to know whether there's anyone in here that works on a business that doesn't have silos. What I mean by that is a digital team, a marketing team. Sometimes the marketing team has digital marketing in it, sometimes it doesn't. Digital marketing sits with e-commerce. The store team, retail operations, buying and merchandising, customer service, IT. Everyone sits in different parts of the business, being measured by different things that relate to their part of the business. They don't relate to actually delivering a seamless, joined-up customer experience. So how is that going to work in the long term? I don't think it really is. Now, I had the privilege a number of years ago of being at the World Retail Congress in Rome, and I shared a stage with Sir Tim Berners-Lee. So the handsome young man on the left, of course, is me, Babita Sharma from the BBC, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, and a Frenchman whose name, sorry again, I can't remember. I really do need to remember. I probably couldn't pronounce it anyway, but he is the co-founder of Bon Privé, the biggest private sales site in the world. And I got the first question. I don't even know why I was sitting in that seat, quite frankly, because Sir Tim Berners-Lee should have been sitting in that seat, or Babita Sharma. I think I just was probably the last one on stage. And she turned to me and said, "So Martin, you do a lot of work in retail, you do a lot of work online. What's next for the web, and what does it mean for retailers?" Right? And I promise you, that picture is me going, "What's next for the web?" Do you know who it is that's sitting the other side of you? The man who invented the World Wide Web. So it did throw me. I did kind of panic for about 4 seconds. Then I regained my moment from being a rabbit in the headlights, and I said, it's not about the web. We live in a multi-channel world, but the problem with channels is we've structured our businesses around channels and not around the customer. Retail has to be experiential, doesn't it? If it's not going to be experiential, if it's not a great experience to go into a store, why would you bother? It is convenient to buy online and becoming more convenient. So there's got to be something else. And now it might be this, right? It might be going into the CoverGirl store in Times Square and using their fantastic augmented reality, virtual reality, picking up a lipstick, not even having to physically apply it, and stunning eyeliner to match. There actually was a time when I was a new romantic way back in the early 80s where I wore eyeliner, but keep that between us, will you? It was just brilliant. It's a great store. Next time you go to New York, if you get a chance, I hope it's still open, go in there, but it's a brilliant experience. I think another brand that delivers great experiential retailing is Lush. I know there's a Lush, I don't know if there's a Lush in Melbourne, I'm sure there is, but there's a very good Lush store in Sydney. Great brand, isn't it? You go in, they're always encouraging you to try products before you buy. You know, it really is what we call retail theatre that we referred to earlier. And I think that's the way we have to go. I also think that we have to measure what actually matters. Most of you, any of you who are sitting in an e-commerce or digital role right now, or any kind of performance-related role, you will have data coming out of your ears, possibly other orifices as well, and not just your ears. Who cares that conversion rates are 3%? Yeah? Who cares that average order values are $120? Who cares that customers buy 1.2 units per transaction? It's absolutely marvelous, isn't it? It's great to know, and you need to report it, but what the heck does it tell you? It doesn't tell you anything. What I'd much rather know is, what's happening with the 97% of customers that came to my website this week and didn't buy a bloody thing? Why was that? And okay, I know they probably weren't all there ready to buy, but some of them might have been. So I'd much rather drill into that. And I think if we start looking at customer-facing metrics, like Net Promoter Scores, customer satisfaction, and drilling into all that stuff, what are customers calling the contact center about? What are their issues? Then we start to get an understanding of why some of the 97% aren't buying. Of course, Google Analytics, etc. as well. The next thing is about never taking a customer for granted. A customer is for life, not just for Christmas. But most of us, let's be honest, if we're being really honest with ourselves right now, we don't adopt that approach. We treat customers for the here and now. We take what we can get, right? We're not doing all this stuff. Now, I actually went on to the BBC on their Watchdog program, and I was asked to talk about Moss Bros. Moss Bros, if you don't know, if you're having a wedding, you'll get the male side of the wedding, whatever that wedding is, the men will get their suits in Moss Bros, okay? Now, for a year and a half, everybody cancelled their weddings, understandably, because they weren't allowed to hold them, or they were only allowed to have 10 people there. So quite rightly, when everything opened up in the UK in July of last year, guess what? Everybody wanted to get married. You'd think you would have known that. Unfortunately, they were not able to cope with the demand, but it was the way they handled it, and they were really letting customers down badly. They were saying, sure, come on in, we'll have all your suits, don't worry, we'll have them on Friday. They'll be there on Friday. And your wedding's on Saturday or your wedding's on Sunday, and guess what? They didn't have the suits, or they had some of the suits, or they had the wrong sizes, or the wrong colours, or a mix of each. It was a disaster. So before I went on the BBC, I had a look at the website and I saw this. We've recently experienced an increase in customer contacts and have delays to our usual response times. If you've already raised a query, please wait for one of our advisors to respond, because trust me, raising a repeat query is only going to slow down the process. Please accept our apologies. Now that's what I mean. That's like, go away, right? Go away. We know we got a problem. If that was my business, and I was the CEO of that business, I'd have been on the homepage of that website with a video. I'd have been on the phone apologizing and saying, you know what, I've let you down. We've let you down. We've not done good enough. Please give us a second chance. This is what's happened. This is what we're doing about it. This is when we think we'll have it fixed. And they didn't do any of that. A number of years ago, when I was working in the West End of London, I used to go, you might not know this, but the Easy brand, EasyJet, opened a gym. And this was beside the weight rack. I tweeted about this at the time. I thought this was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. Failure to replace your weights may result in the loss of your membership. Well, guess what? There aren't too many Easy gyms around anymore. I wonder why. And yet, according to the Harvard Business Review, a 5% increase in customer retention leads to a 25 to 95% increase in profits. Wow. So, a really, really small move in the needle, shift, 5%, more retention, fundamentally changes the whole profitability profile of the business. Why is your CFO not looking at that? Why is your CFO not challenging you to say, I want that. I don't want the model I've got right now, this cost to serve nonsense. I want lifetime value. I want 5% more retention. Bloody hell, that's going to make me look good. The best customer retention program of all time, in my humble opinion, drum roll, is Amazon Prime. Kind of hard to argue, isn't it, really? You give us money. That's quite good for cash flow and investing in technology and staying ahead of the game. And we send you your orders whenever you want. And now we'll give you content as well and whatever other products. It is brilliant. And alongside that, we'll add more and more and more product categories to make our business even more sticky and even more engaging. But actually, there might even be one even better than that. And this is one of the best for a financial services business. I don't think I've ever seen anyone find a way of engaging with our customers better than this brand that I'm going to show you now.
Everybody on the floor! This is a robbery! Don't move! Get down now! Don't move! Get down and stay down! You move! The money! The money! Open the vault!
Mr. Johnson? Eric Johnson?
How does she know your name? I don't know.
Your mobile app pinged us when you walked in. Looks like you were on our website and thinking about buying a house.
You moving out, man? I need my space.
You may think you can't afford a new home, but we have some amazing new rates. I could text them to you.
Oh, those are fantastic.
And Mr. Davis?
Yeah, it's me.
Did you click on one of our emails about consolidating your student loans?
Maybe.
Oh, well, we can help you with that too.
Hey, what are you doing? This is a robbery, remember? We gotta go! Come on! Can I lock those rates in on the app?
Well, of course you can, sugar.
Thanks.
There you go. Brilliant video. I hope you enjoyed it. If any of you are interested in my MBA course, my mini MBA course, you can find it through my website, martinnewman.co.uk/MBA. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you over the next couple of days. If you did, my name is Martin Newman. And if you didn't, it's Boris Johnson.